Everyone, this is Villains Demand, and I'm JVD bringing you another spooky comic book review over Avengers Halloween Special 2018. Now, I'm going to snip some clips from the book to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about for this review. So you might be spoiled, but I'm going to try to fill up the the beginning, I should say, not the book. I'm about to talk about the book. The beginning of this review is the covers. The first cover is one of a pumpkin patch with Venom as a scarecrow as three kids approach looking very scared. It's really cool. All the pumpkins are done up in various Marvel emblems. We've got the Iron Man helmet. We got the Avengers A, or maybe the Captain America A that he usually wears. We have the Punisher skull. I see a Spider-Man skull. But it's really cool because there's a big full moon. It's raining. Venom looks very scary, like he's about to eat the kids. It's really cool. The second variant one, which I think might be my favorite of the two, is Iron Man as Dr. Frankenstein, and he is working on the monster, which is Captain America. And one arm is the Thing's arm, one arm is the Hulk's, and he looks like he's just woken him up. His head is smoking, Captain America's, and Tony Stark's behind him with the goggles and the apron and the white shirt. Very classic Victor Frankenstein with a maniacal laugh. So, two really cool covers. With that, probably about this time, I'm going to break into, well, the spoilers will probably start showing up here right about now from the books on the screen. But the book is, it's good. It's got 5 different stories. I would say the first 2 are good. The third one is my favorite. It is great. I cannot talk enough about it. The fourth one, it's okay, and the third one's pretty good. But I do recommend picking this up. It's rare that Marvel does any Halloween specials. DC there for a couple years did a pretty good string of them. So, but without further ado, I'll just kind of start digging into some spoilers here. The book starts off with a very classic black and white cover of Satana, warning you about the book, and basically kind of ends with, here there be monsters. And in the very first story, I should say, not the second story, we get a story about Daredevil, and he is going to be able to see. He's got eyes donated to him, and it's a really cool story. He wakes up and he sees, but everything looks normal to him. But his eyes are this really funky, like, psychedelic colors. And the first thing he does is he sees Bullseye. And it almost looks like a ghost. It makes him feel foggy. And this is kind of a thing. And it's really neat because Daredevil's never seen. But the eyes that are donated to him, he finds out from the doctor when he's calling him that the eyes were donated. And he took my kids, is what the doctor tells him. And you got a very powerful hallucinogenic as tear ducts that won't run out. And every time he sees somebody he loves, he's killed them because he's seen as villains. And apparently it was the Kingpin that done it. And at the end we see that everything's dark to him, and he has torn out his eyes, and the Kingpin is standing above him, all Negan-like from The Walking Dead with a barbed wire bat. So a really cool story about how Matt was really cursed, and it's really neat. And it's almost in a sense that he has lost his Daredevil powers when he has got these eyes. Because he would have heard the Kingpin coming, and he doesn't. So it's a complete horror story. And I would imagine that would be the worst thing to Matt, is to be able to see and lose his powers, and especially in a time where he needed them. But it's a really good story. The second story, as we get to it, is about the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom has returned. The Fantastic Four have returned to Earth after getting their powers, and Doom is sitting there watching on TV, and he realizes that something is very off. So he takes off to the Baxter building with a sword and a grappling hook. Very kind of Batman-ish, because Dr. Doom flies, and we clearly see him intercepting signals from the Baxter building, and he uses a grappling hook to get over there. It's very strange. It's not very like him. Like I said, very Batman. And he even busts through a window into their building. So, like I said, very Batman of Dr. Doom. Then, if you ask anybody, in comic books, we talk about battles. 2 biggest guys in prep. You could argue that they are very Batman-ish. But, anyways, it's a really cool moment talking about prep. Good segue. He brings a hafnium carbine mineral sword that will basically can survive the heat of the sun. He uses that to kill Johnny Storm. He freezes a thing, shatters him with it looks most like a spell, but when you really get to looking at his gauntlet lit up, you would see it's some type of device. And he basically electrocutes Richards, is what it kind of looks like, to basically kill him. So it's kind of interesting, kind of paralyzes him. Well, anyways, the Avengers show up to stop him, and he's looking for Sue. And he's questioning her while he's talking to her, because he realizes that apparently they've been taken over by an alien host. No one's going to believe him. And Sue shows up when he's in prison, and she shows her true face. And Doom doesn't see it, but you see all these spines and stuff sticking out of it. It's really cool looking. And you could tell by, he's horrified when he sees it. And she tells him he'll speak one more time after he recovers from his massive stroke he's just had. After that, that mighty will of yous will learn, speak, talk again. And basically, by the time it's too late, they've been taken over Earth, and he'll be the last man alive. It's a really good story. Next year, I would really hope that they would revisit this story, and you kind of get a I Am Legend type story from this, and it be Doom, the only person left on Earth, fighting whatever Sue Storm is, because obviously she's the queen of this invader species. So, Marvel, if you ever get this, follow up on this next year. It's a good story. The third story, which is my favorite, I cannot talk about this enough. Nerdy Zombie on our page, I automatically just screenshotted all the pictures and send it to him just so he could read it. It's freaking awesome. But we realized that Stain and Stark are back at it, and Tony needs to come up with a biological weapon to go up against Zane's tech. And he's already sent some men down to this bunker his dad had, where he was working on something during World War II. So, with no sight from the men, he winds up hiring Deadpool and Colossus to go help him take out, which we learned is Captain America in this bunker. And as soon as Colossus jumps down, which it's funny, he's pushed out by Deadpool, so, you know, you got to get a little Deadpool comedy there. Captain America slings the shield and impales it into Colossus's head. First thing I thought, well, Colossus is organic steel, nothing cuts it. But if you go back to when Claremont was reading it, Wolverine could literally cut him with his claws and he would bleed. Also, when Wolverine goes to Hell storyline, when the demon possesses Wolverine, he actually manages to make Colossus bleed too. So, the fact that this animanium, vibranium infused shield, yes, he should be able to cut Colossus there. Really cool moment. Before Deadpool goes after him, Tony realizes he's got to do it himself, so he gets in his Iron Man armor. Goes into the bunker, and Deadpool's trying to warn him to stop. And Steve Rogers, all these tentacles and appendages have bursted out of his chest cavity and his stomach and are starting to pull Deadpool in. And you realize John Carpenter is John Carpenter. This is John Carpenter's The Thing, and Captain America's The Thing. But he's very aware of himself. And it's strange because you realize he's trying to escape, but he's very Steve Rogers, and he knows what he's doing. And so him and Tony, they have it out, and he automatically knows that Captain America is Howard's son, and Howard had him trapped here. And they have it out, and eventually Tony knew there was a storm coming, and he knew he had to keep him frozen here. So he's trying to stall during their fight, and even part of him has already started to affect Deadpool's other half, because he's ripped Deadpool in half, and Tony's doing whatever he can to burn the thing. Like I said, it's very, very John Carpenter. It's my favorite story out of this. It might be one of my favorite stories I've ever read out of any of the Halloween specials for big mainstream comics. It's really good. But in the end, Tony manages to hold him off while the storm comes, and you know he's going to freeze. Really, really good story. Like I said, this is obviously the best out of the 5. I would like to see this revisited, much like the last story next year, and learn of how this came to be. Obviously, in my mind, as I'm reading this, I would imagine that Steve went to the bunker to stop what was ever here, and he became infected, and he got frozen here, much like you would see in the prequel to The Thing that came out a couple of years ago with the chick from 10 Cloverfield Lane. I can't think of her name right now. So, you know, or maybe he was sent down here by the U.S. government, and maybe he never died in World War II. Maybe this was the cover-up, was for him to go down there and be infected. And they just said, oh, he died covering up destroying a Hydra ship during World War II. And no, maybe that's all a cover-up. Maybe he got infected here. And I like to think that's what happened. And Tony never got to meet his dad because his dad was also stuck there too. So I would really like to see a story to where this all began back in World War II. Because apparently that's what you're kind of guessing. And obviously, either the thing's going to get frozen alive and die, or Tony's going to freeze alive with it, or he's going to escape. Like I said, the helicopter's still there. They flew in a helicopter. Really great story. If you do not pick this book up, I recommend picking it up just for this story. If you love horror, if you love John Carpenter's thing, you're really going to like this story. The next story, which I thought was okay, is basically Phantom of the Opera, Punisher crossover. His wife was like the singer of this opera in Paris, and this is the only one actually that you have a time to, which we see it takes place in 1881 in Paris. And anyways, some thugs, they murder her while he's a beat cop out on the streets of Paris. And just so his girlfriend, this thug's girlfriend, can take her spot and to go live the rest of his days in the catacombs, wandering aimlessly. He thinks he's hearing ghosts, but he hears through a crack underneath the opera that his wife was murdered. So the day of the girl's big debut to take his wife's place as a soprano, he shows up with a half skull mask, a sword, and a couple flintlock pistols, and murders everybody that took part in his wife's murder. It's very Punisher. It's just a crossover. I wasn't really big into it, but there's Punisher fans out there, and I know a few of them, and I'm pretty sure they'll appreciate the story. The last one, which I would say is not very horror-like, it fits the story. It's about the Xavier student for gifted children. And it's about these two kids going to this place trying to get candy. And the little boy is like, oh, it's haunted. And the girl's like, no, it's not. There's hope here. And he's like, no, there's monsters. And they talk about how everybody died here a long time ago, which you would assume would be the X-Men. My first thing thought, oh, well, there's a big battle here between the X-Men and the Brotherhood or something of another. Well, anyways, the kid falls through the floor, and beneath it, you see all of the X-Men's villains, the Brotherhood, the Hellfire Club, and you think, oh boy, maybe they've been hiding out down here after they killed all these X-Men. Well, then they say target acquired, and you realize, oh, they're Sentinels, and the Sentinels killed off all the X-Men and have been waiting for mutants to show up here. Well, anyways, the little boy, he's terrified as he's trapped down here, and then Wolverine shows up and starts cutting through everybody. There's a really cool panel where there's 4 pictures and they almost make a cross, and then between the crosses and in the middle of it says stink. And he saves them as the little boy is lifted up by some type of power, and you realize that it's the little girl and she's a mutant. And that's why she kept saying there was hope here, because she knew what the school used to be. Well, anyways, Wolverine shows up above them, and he's kind of fading away. And the little girl says, trick or treat. And Wolverine just kind of smiles, and he motions as he fades away to Cerebro on the counter. And he says, bit of both, kiddo, bit of both. And the little boy says, what is that? And she tells him, hope. So I thought that was a really neat little story. Not really spooky, not kind of scary like the other 4, but a really neat little twist to his story, because you think, oh, Wolverine, he's basically immortal, he regenerates, remember everything. He's alive when he comes down there to fight, and he's not, he's a ghost. So it was a really cool little concept. Like I said, this Avenger Halloween special 2018, the story for a thing is my favorite. It's really worth buying. That and the story before with Doctor Doom and this alien invaders that have taken over Fantastic Four. There's a lot to play on there that if Marvel decided to do one in 2019, that they could pick up the Doom story like later on after this invasion's taken over Earth. And with Tony and the Thing / Captain America, you could go back to where that originally happened and tell a prequel there. So like I said, really cool stuff here. I really enjoyed this. I hope Marvel does these more for Halloween. But I'm Jay for the Villains Man. This has been my review for Avengers Halloween Special 2018. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to our channel. Like I said, like, comment on the video. Keep reading, guys.